All right, Master Benjamin. Today's the 14th day of June 2025.
Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. And this is the opening sequence for
Summer
the summer
2025.
season of the it's the Crawford Built summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Uh, so this is to communicate plans to others,
Mm-hmm.
what it is that we're up to. Uh, we talked about we want to talk about the temporal frame here, so timing, key dates, and milestones. We want to talk about the themes for the 2025 summer season. Uh, we also want to talk about the constructs and systems that we've been developing to realize value in both
Mm-hmm.
senses of the word. And then we want to talk a little bit about the tiny home showcasing,
Yeah.
not just as a showcase, but also as a participatory,
System.
a way to bring people into uh, a more exuberant play. So it's an easy point of entry. So it's always good to start with gratitude. What are you grateful for today?
Grateful to be back on the west side.
Yeah,
There's so much life.
back at
I
the
mean,
game farm.
literally surrounded by it at the moment. I'm loving it.
Yeah, we got bees in the blackberries here. It looks like we're gonna have a bumper crop of blackberries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for the abundant wild food supply for sure. And people, dear friends, friends and fellows.
Mm-hmm.
Wes comes to mind as
Sure.
a fellow forager and a very accomplished chef,
Mm.
and also a very generous host. So the key dates to keep in mind. So we were going to talk about perpetuity.
Yes.
So whenever we're setting the temporal frames, um, there's been traditionally things like 7 generations of consideration. The point being is it's beyond oneself.
Yeah.
So imagining reality after I have passed away.
Right.
How do I consider my behavior today in relation with all that goes beyond me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's obviously way downrange, so it's easy to spend too much time on it. We don't need to spend too much time on it. We do need to talk a little bit about perpetuity in the financial sense, though.
Sure.
And I think it's important to communicate to people how that relates to the Crawford Built entities and the foundation specifically,
Okay.
because that's foundations typically enjoy endowments
Yeah.
where there's enough net asset that is it's basically just savings
Yeah.
that it throws off enough income from interest on the asset
Mm-hmm.
to maintain the core operations or maintain the mission of the foundation in perpetuity. That means
Right.
forever. Uh, so that's very much on your mind and mine, is establishing and um, I think I
The
can.
accrual of perpetuities.
Yeah. What form do they take? I
Mm-hmm.
think that's sufficient for framing for now.
Sure.
Um, I would, if you can help me remember, I would come back. Metaphors are obviously really important for communicating, and
Oh.
that phrase framing or that word framing is an important metaphor
Okay.
that we can come back to in the context of
Right.
the homes. Okay, so we talked about perpetuity. So then I always come back to just today.
Yeah.
Close range, what are we doing today? The mission was basically Ellensburg egress.
Mm-hmm.
We got you out of Central this morning. That is that was enough of a mission for today. And
Yeah.
then the point that we wanted to talk about for the audience here was the summer season. So uh 3. So the construct is 4-day weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3 of them in the summer season.
Yep.
Those weekends are this upcoming weekend, so not this weekend, but next, and that was what, June 20? Yeah, June 20 through the 23rd is Mirth Mission 6.
Yep.
It's the first of the summer season. 6 month, 6th month, therefore Mirth Mission 6.
Yep.
And first mission of the 3-session summer season.
Yeah.
And then the second one we said was going to be July 4th through the
8th.
That sounds right. 4-day weekend. And then we have August 8th through the 11th out at the ocean.
Yes.
Is at Ozette, which I think, will you talk a little bit about Ozette? You were saying earlier today that that's our best. Presently, that's our.
It's what we have the most practice in. That's how I see it. Like every single year we go there for an adventure. All we're doing differently in my mind is trying to bring more people in and make it more structured with a clearer narrative. I think so. Because of that, I think we can pull a lot of the pure, more implicit maybe adventures that we've gone through and practice habitually every time we go, and just distill it into the form that we want for Crawford Built adventures.
Yeah. So, and we always end up building something there. So you and I play a lot with building, and we build with both all the full range, all the way from contemporary, highly engineered dimensional lumber, and also we play with the building with the purely natural, driftwood, as well as hybrid, so blends of that. And that's there's something deeply satisfying in those practices.
Highly relevant, I feel like, just to a lot of different contexts. That's why that appeals to me, at least.
Yeah, I really like that thing that construct that I was taught when I was doing survival skill stuff, where there's first things first. Usually it's going to be shelter first. So that's a foundational practice. All right, so that's the slate. So one more time: June 20th through the 23rd, July 4th through the 8th, and August 8th through the 11th. And then the themes of those, we've picked texts or text. The texts came to me. We didn't really pick them. They came to me. So the texts that provide the theme for the experiences for these summer sessions are in June. It's What the Robin Knows. And then in July, Finite and Infinite Games. And the August session is Never Split the Difference. So the negotiation skills.
Right.
All right. What else? So did we cover off on? We didn't finish the temporal framing. So the key dates. So we just touched on the meat of it. So the anchoring dates for the events of the summer.
Right.
And then the end of the season occurs on the 20th when you go back to Ellensburg. So starts on June 14th, ends on September 20. And that's important for other people to know, because there's opportunities to support the missions in between. So there's the actual events, but then there's also a larger game going on, I guess I'll characterize it as, of all of the logistics, all of the provisioning, and
prep and cleanup.
yes, as well as the I'll say gleaning of learnings from each of the sessions.
Right.
Because we have been iterating, like you were just making the point, we've iterated on the Ozette one the most, but we're iterating on all of these.
Yep.
So these, from now into perpetuity, this is part of the Crawford Built construct, which is once a month, there's a 4-day weekend. It's an immersive experience. And we iterate on those experiences season after season, year after year.
Right.
And so there's the post-operation, there's the learning, and then there's the setting up, the provisioning for the next instance in the following year, typically.
Yeah.
It begins the day that the present instance ends.
Sure.
So you do just incremental, a little bit every day.
Yeah.
So by the time you get to the same time next year, you're in way better shape than you were in this present instance.
Yep.
Do you have anything further to say about that? Anything occur to you?
So we're trying to make it, you'd like the term spiral, maybe. Trying to make it as close to, well, I mean, I think it will be, but trying to accelerate as much as we can of the exponential growth of the overarching story, how it expands and grows out of itself.
Yeah. So I can tie that to this thing behind me right here.
Sure.
So we've iterated twice formally on this architecture right here.
Right.
So there's the bunkhouse in Mirthwood. That was modeled after this one.
Yep.
So each time we iterate on the same basic product, if we're paying attention, we get better and better. You want to talk a little bit about what was the name of the place in South Seattle that we went to?
Sound Foundations.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were hosting you could categorize it as a charity event. This is where people would come and help with the manual labor of building houses, mini houses, much like the structure of this one right here, for homeless people to live in.
People in transition. I think they characterize it as transition.
Yeah.
So there were some really key statistics that we learned. I don't know if you remember what they were, but I don't remember what it was, but it was like the average stay was something like 114 days or something. So right. Someone who is experiencing homelessness enters into a transformative process that involves approximately, again, you'd have to fact check me, but I think it was about 114 days to get back on their feet, so to speak, or to find their way into a more, I'll just say meaningful, productive way of being in the larger societal system.
Yeah.
So the systems, so this is maybe when we talk a little bit about the realization of value through systems, and the importance of systems to the realization of value, and realization in both senses of the word. So when I say both senses of the word, what does that mean to you?
Like we were talking about, there's both cognitive realization and a physical realization, say. So in the mind, you realize something to be true, like a concept can be real, and that would be the first sense of realization. And then after that, you're able to, if you think about that and muse on that original realization, you can realize it a second time in the corporeal realm, in actual stuff and things.
Yeah, you can make something real.
Yeah.
So you can realize that it's possible, and then you can actually make it real.
Mm-hmm.
So what? It's kind of a stretch goal, I guess I would say, for us in this season, but it would be to iterate a third time on the bunkhouse.
Yeah.
So the express intent there is to basically turn this one into a showroom. So this becomes a showcase, super built out, like really
Make it the
sweet,
blueprint.
setup. And then there were things that we learned, like the steel roof, for example, and the installation of the stove in the bunkhouse in Mirth Wood. So then the third instance would be
taking what we know about this one,
starting from the ground up
what we
again.
like better about the second one,
Yep.
and mashing it together, make a third.
Yeah, along with the system. So the reason that I
Yeah.
asked about, what was it called again, the place in South Seattle?
Sound Foundations.
Sound Foundation. So they had jigs. So they basically had a manufacturing facility where they could take relatively unskilled labor, bring them into the warehouse, and in relatively short order produce a home.
Yep.
That's pretty impressive. But so then what I'm drawing attention to is in the Crawford Built constructs is the importance of the instantiations of the systems of production, the means of production. So if we can move that, if we can advance that any amount during the summer sessions, as in we have tooling to come back to in 2026.
Yeah.
Or maybe even earlier. So that's I think we've talked about the constructs or the systems, realizing value through systems.
Yeah.
And then
the idea is that that's not just applicable to the house we're building, but also the adventures we're running.
That's right. Yeah, it's infrastructure. Yeah. So then we talked about the constructs that we already have, which are the Mirth missions themselves, 4-day experiences, weekends, adventures.
Right.
That provides the segue into the different entities. So we talked about the foundation a little bit, which is the philanthropic arm of the Crawford Built entities. And that provides a means for, let's just say, the more wealthier people it affords a way to sponsor, I guess I'll say, to endow. If you believe in what we're doing, if you like what we're doing, and you would like to see it continue in perpetuity, it's a means by which you can participate.
Yeah.
So that's the foundation, and that the foundation is is very focused on whatever the operating environment is that it's in. What's the ecology that it's actually operating in? What's the culture? What's the society? Where are we actually at? And what is our part to play in making it better, without regard to the meaner commercial aspects, the profit motivation.
I like to think of it as just purely, well, as much as we can manage, a cultural endeavor.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It's doing our best to keep the culture in tune with the very fabric of reality.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the other extreme is the properties. So Crawford Built properties, which is pretty classic property management and construction company, which it's important to note you're doing
A
your,
degree in exactly that.
yeah, so you're earning your bachelor's degree and you expect to be done with that, I think you said before 2028. So going
Mhm.
into 2028, you're expecting to be
Have the
done
degree, yeah.
with at least
Bachelorette.
the first step in the formal education
Mhm.
there, which I think, well, we don't need to get into that.
Yeah.
Industries are changing so rapidly right now that I think you're going to know a lot more. I think the whole landscape in terms of,
Yeah. It's changing a lot.
yeah, what you ought to be focusing on might not even be a thing today.
It's yeah. I mean, just for me, it's like this 4-year degree is for me to have a viable um, opportunity for a lifelong career in the larger economic model. This is what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Society tells me to be a productive member of society. This is my best shot at fulfilling that obligation. Um, whether or not I further my education past that point is more heavily dependent on my own personal um, interest, I guess, and identity. What it means for me to want to pursue um, something greater, as far as incredibly um, arduous learning. It's
Rigorous,
rigorous is a good
rigorous
word.
formal
Yeah.
education. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and I love the fact that you're focused on construction because I'm pretty sure no matter what the state of the art is with respect to technology, human beings are always going to be building something. Might be in outer space, might be on the beach. Doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. Like there's a fundamental thing that humans do that if you learn how to think about the process, you're gonna be golden.
You need shelter.
Yep. Okay, so the last one then is the adventures, which we've talked about as a hybrid
Mm-hmm.
of the two.
Yeah.
So it's both. So the adventures are the 4 day. So Mirth missions are an example of
An adventure.
the, what do we say, purview or scope of Crawford Built adventures.
Sure.
Uh, so there is a profit motive
Mm-hmm.
involved, but it's not just profit motive. There's also that cultural
Yeah.
care piece involved in it. There's a, yeah, so it's a rich blend of the two. Is how.
Yeah. It's well put.
Okay. So did I leave anything out?
Oh, we talked about constructs and systems. I believe you asked me to remind you of. There's one other thing. Or was that the thing? Systems in relation to this. I think we got it.
Okay. Well, thank you for your careful attention.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.